In the bitter winter of the Crimean War, a British ship left Balaclava Bay carrying the wounded, the dying and the few who had survived the slaughter at Sebastopol. Among them was a corporal of the 97th Regiment, one of the men who had stormed the Redan. His strength was gone, his wounds unhealed, yet his courage had not left him. And now the story begins. We left Balaclava late in December, with a shipload of sick and wounded, some bound for Scutari, some for hospitals along the coast, a few officers for Malta, and the rest for England. It was fine weather when we left the bay, but the Euxine is seldom quiet for long, and before we were halfway across, a storm was raging furiously. The wind blew from every point of the compass, the black waves heaving around us, as if they would engulf the ship with all its living souls. The white surf swept our decks from bows to stern. I was standing on the quarterdeck speaking with the captain when a pale-faced boy, with the badge of the 97th in his cap, approached us. He saluted with one hand and clung to the rail with the other to keep from being swept overboard. "Captain," said he, "will you soon be in smooth water?" "There's a poor corporal of ours. Won't last long anyhow this way." The captain shook his head. "My lad," said he, "the ship scarce makes any way in this head sea. There'll be no smooth water for the next 24 hours. "Then God's mercy be with him," said the boy, and he turned away. The captain called after him, "Cheerly, cheerly, my lad. Isn't it all taut and dry below? The doctor's with your mate. All the ship's comforts are at his service. Does he want anything?" "Faith, and it's not long he'll want anything," was the reply. "He won't live below at all, at all." He never could stand the say, not even when he was the man he used to be. He says now, and it's all his cry, "Give me the fresh air, and I'll die contented." "The man says truth," said the doctor, who came up at that moment. "We must have the poor fellow on deck. It's his only chance. He'll die below." "Then bring him on the quarterdeck," said the captain. And in a few minutes, under one of the boats, a bed was made as comfortable as could be. I helped to lift him there. When he was lying on his bed, with the wind shrieking around him, and the salt sea foam splashing on his face, he revived for a moment, and said he felt better, and hoped he should still weather the storm. His comrade told me he had been one of the first to enter the Redan on the memorable 8th of September. He was among the few who, for a brief, desperate moment, occupied those enormous works, hoping for reinforcements that never came. Thousands of Russians, yelling like demons, crowded in from the Malakoff and from the barracks below, and the devoted few were forced to retreat. While retreating over the terrible glacis, he was wounded in several places. He had partly recovered from his wounds when dysentery seized him, and now, on the quarterdeck of the ship, he was dying. His face and lips were pale as wax, his eyes sunken deep in their blackened sockets, his features sharp and beaded with the cold dew of death. A few sick men of the 97th stood near him, and several invalids from other regiments. "God bless you, my boy," said he, and the old 97th, "It's no use, I'll never see home." At that word his chin fell upon his breast. They thought he was gone, and covered his face. But he moved again, and tried to lift his hand, cold as ice. The young lad, a 6 months recruit, grasped the dying fingers and bent over him, tears streaming down his cheeks, mingling with the spray of the sea. Then the corporal, with sudden strength, half raised himself and gasped out, "Mike!" They say the 97th ran back. Will any man say I didn't do my duty? God bless the Queen, and bless old Ireland too. He fell back and never spoke again. In a few hours we were off Scutari. The ship blew off steam while the boat went ashore. One of the hatchways was lowered into the jolly boat, and on this rude bier rested a figure, the outline of death, wrapped in a Union Jack. "Turn the hatchway round," cried the captain, "or you'll have him overboard." The boy in the boat clasped the something in the Union Jack with one arm, and with the other turned the hatchway round, lifting him tenderly. So light was his frame now. 3 months ago he had been strong as steel. The boat put off towards the shore, the heavy surf beating against her, and at every wave it seemed she would be swallowed by the sea. I thought I had seen death in so many forms that nothing could move me again. But the misery and grief of that young recruit, that faithful comrade, was a sight no human heart could bear without tears. He stood leaning over the ship's ladder, his eyes fixed on the receding boat as it fought each threatening wave, weeping as if he were beside a household grave at home, hearing the dull earth fall upon the coffin. Thus ended the voyage of one forgotten soldier, a nameless hero of the Redan, far from Ireland, far from home. His last words were for duty, for the Queen, and for his regiment, the ould 97th. Another truth revealed, another soul remembered by the Black Folder.